Welcome to the Resilient and Real podcast. I am your podcast host, Mattie'l. This show was created with you in mind. Yes, you. See, like me, I'm pretty sure you're on a journey towards living a more fulfilling and purpose-driven life. This podcast is all about real, raw, positive, forward-thinking situations and experiences that will inspire you to make the ultimate comeback from every setback. Let's get to the show. Okay, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Resilient and Real podcast. I'm your podcast host, Mattie'l. I just want to take the time out right now to say thank you to all of the subscribers, all of the listeners of the show thus far. Thank you so much for providing your feedback. Thank you for all the emails, the tags, the shares, just everything as far as the brand is concerned, Realish Cosmetics and the Resilient and Real podcast. Thank you so much for your support. I always like to lead with that gratitude piece because I don't ever want to get to the place where I'm no longer grateful and operating out of that place of gratitude. I always want to make sure that I'm expressing my gratitude no matter how big or small the gesture is. I recognize all forms of support. So I just had to get that out of the way. By the time you guys hear this episode, it will be, I think this episode is going to be coming out on the last Friday of January, which will be January 31st. It's pretty much the last day of the month. Everybody has been so excited about 2020. January has kind of been a month of rest. I think a lot of people experienced this type of lethargic feeling coming into this new year simply because December was such a busy time. It's Christmas, there's all this stuff going on, it's the hype about the new year, all these different moving parts. I feel like some of us just kind of took January to kind of rest and reset. Have you thought about starting your very own podcast, but you're completely lost as to where to start? Don't really know the equipment or everything that is really needed, the necessities to get your show up and running? Don't worry, I have great news for you. There is a link located in the description box where you can sign up to be added to the wait list. I am going to be helping you guys get your own podcast up and running. So make sure that you go ahead and sign up for the wait list if this is something that you are interested in. Back to the show. And kind of get our minds together. I'm just speaking for me. January was kind of like that little whole reset adjustment time. I slept a lot. I'm not gonna lie, like I slept a lot, but winding down toward the end of this, I'm sorry y'all, I'm holding this lip gloss in my hands because I need to put something on my lips. So just give me 1 second. Okay. So I feel like now toward the end of January, I'm picking up a little bit of momentum. I'm getting into the routine of things. Everything is kind of starting to flow again, but it was definitely off to a slow start for me. I think just because of how busy December was. Not to say that is setting the tone for my entire year, but this year, more than I have other years, I'm going to be a little bit more intentional on paying attention to my body, paying attention to how I feel, and really just trying not to get so caught up in grind mode, not to get so caught up in all these different things, and make sure that I'm staying a little bit more centered, a little bit more grounded, and level-headed throughout the year. So I kind of wanted to talk about today just recapping and kind of resetting for the rest of the year. Like I said, January was kind of like off just trying to get into the swing of things, coming down off of the hype. I feel like everybody gets so pumped up beginning of the year, and then by February, March, the goals that you said you was going to do all these things. Like, where are you, sis? Like, what are you doing? Like, what happened? I thought you was about to lose 20. I thought you was about to drop 10. I thought you was about to start that business, that idea, that blog, that podcast. What happened? So it's time to check in. So I have a couple of things that I want to go over. These are pretty much methods that I use. These are skills that I picked up over time in corporate America, with my coordinating skills and stuff that I do on a daily basis at work. I've kind of picked up on how to map things out. So pretty much am going to give you guys my method of goal setting. Not so much goal setting, because it's more like setting realistic expectations, and within those expectations, having actionable steps to take. So it's not just goal setting, but it's being realistic and being real about it. Like, what's feasible for me? What's feasible for me? What am I going to be able to not only do, but repeat and still be able to get great results? So here we go. Number one, when you are setting your goals, yes, you want to set that big goal. You want to make sure you set your goal high enough. Yes, you want to make sure that you are being ambitious. But at the same time, I take the approach of let's look at the bigger picture, and then look at all those little things that it's going to take in between there. All these decisions that you have to make is really just how I like to break down my goals. I'm not just going to go and be like, yeah, I want a hamburger, and just expect that hamburger to appear on my plate, done, cooked, ready to eat, with the fries and the sides and all that. That's not how goals work. There's a lot of little things in between there. So let's start here. Number one, you have your big hamburger, you have your end goal, you have what you want in the end. You have a timeline. A lot of us like to say, oh, in 6 months I want this, or in 10 months, by the end of the year I want this. So yeah, it's fine. Have your little timeline. Go ahead, put that on there. Write down your timeline, what you want to have this thing accomplished by. Then you're going to want to break everything down in a micro level, okay? When I say a micro level, you're starting with, what do you need to do to get this done? Then it goes, what do I need to do every month to be closer to this goal? Then what do I need to do every week? What do I need to be doing, checking in bi-weekly? What do I need to be doing every day to make sure that I'm not falling behind? Because a lot of times we fall behind on the everyday, not the bigger. We don't realize how far behind we are because we're not looking at it as an everyday, one foot in front of the other. If you look at it that way and break it down every day, like if you have a savings goal and you make X amount of money a week, or even just break it down, I make X amount of money a day. I need to save at least 20% of what I make per day. So that's a per day basis. If you skip too many days of that 20% per day, you're going to get behind. So when you're breaking these goals down into micro levels, I feel like the most important piece of it is to keep the focus on those things every day. Because really, when we stop focusing on our goals on a daily basis, that's when we find ourselves getting lost. That's when we find ourselves getting distracted, sidetracked, all those different things. And then we look up a month or two down the road and we're like, dang, what did I do with all my time? Like, I could have had this. Like, I should have had this amount saved. I should have had this bill paid off. I should have already had my website up and going. I should have already had this and that. And really, it all boils down to what you do every day. How are you managing your time? Time management skills. I feel like that's something that they try to teach us in college, is how to manage your time, which really nobody taught me how to manage my time, which is probably why I was like all over the place. But that time management skills come in And you have to look at it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and then work your way up. So if you know you want to drop a couple of pounds, start with increasing your water intake. That's something that you have to do every day to equal your end result, right? That's all I'm trying to say. That's the whole point that I'm trying to say. A lot of people don't get that concept though. It's an everyday grind. It's something that you have to be actively doing, actively working on every day. Okay? So with that, I just wanted to make sure that we check in and we're on the same page with that, because it can get a little crazy going through the year and just like stuff happening. It's very hard to keep your goal front of mind, especially if it's not a priority. I feel like there's a couple categories of goals that you have to take into consideration. One goal is like a priority. It's like not life or death, but it's the livelihood of my family that this happens. It's like very important for the overall health and wealth of the family, or for yourself, to get this done. That's first priority. Then you have things that kind of fall into the self-care aspect of life. It's things that you kind of want to happen and things that you kind of want to start implementing. I would say it's not necessarily a necessity, but it is important and it is necessary for your overall health. And it is necessary for your overall health and, wellness as a human being. So yeah, you do need to make that a priority as well, but it's not life or death. It's not as important. Okay, so we have your priorities. Then we have kind of like self-care stuff, like I need to lose a couple inches. I need to do this. I want to do this, like those type of goals. Then we have those bigger ongoing goals that it's going to take 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road to set you up for success. Those tend to be the ones that get lost by the wayside sometimes. I just feel like because people look at it as if it's going to take us so long, it's going to take me so long to accomplish it, that sometimes you just don't do anything to work toward it. And that's another thing that I feel like I, as well as some of you, may want to pay attention to going into like the next month and the rest of this year, especially those goals that are more long-term. Don't just sleep on them. Make sure that you're doing at least something every day, every week, every month that's building you up to that thing that's coming a year from now, setting yourself up for success. So I just kind of wanted to check in with you guys as far as the month end, and just kind of catch up. You guys will see that there's some more exciting news coming to Realish Cosmetics and the Resilient and Real podcast, but you guys will learn about that when it's time. I'm just excited. I've been working very hard on the back end. I feel like most of my work is on the back end. Coming and talking to y'all, this is like front end stuff it's fun, it's relaxing to me. But other than that, I am going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode. Oh, before I go, be sure to leave a review on iTunes, y'all, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. Be sure to leave a review, share the show, tag a friend, tell a friend. Also, the Realish Beauty Society is still up and going. We've been doing some makeup classes. We just had a brow class not too long ago. We're doing some very exciting things in there. I also am working on guests to bring into the group to conduct lives and stuff on various topics. So I'm really, really excited about what's happening in the Realish Beauty Society. Be sure to check that out, okay? So that really pretty much wraps up this week's episode. We will talk again next